Hello and thank you for tuning in, and thank you for your overwhelming response to our previous episode on the property market in the NCR region. This week we have another cracker of a show lined up for you, and as always we have the strongest lineup of experts as well. Remember, you can send in your questions to the property guide at et-now.com. It'll be our pleasure to answer your questions on this show. Over the next half hour, should you enjoy 5-star comforts in any luxury apartment, we'll give you a list of key developers in the entry-level luxury segment. We'll tell you how IT companies are driving the residential property market at Hinjewadi in Pune. And in our legal segment, we'll tell you how to check whether the project you're buying into is genuine and legal. All right, let me do a quick introduction with our guests. We have Jayashree Kurup, Head of Content and Research at Magic Bricks, who joins us from our Delhi studio. And of course, Om Ahuja, CEO of Residential Services at Jones Lang LaSalle, who joins us in Mumbai. Om, thank you for coming in. Now, the most common complaint we hear about real estate is that it's become unaffordable. Now, hearing developers quote prices of above 1.5 crore rupees has become fairly commonplace in our market. But does a swimming pool and the tag of luxury justify these prices? Well, market research tells us now that the homes priced between 1 and 3 crore rupees are most active in the country, which means they're being traded the most. So if you are one such customer and you're looking at one such home, it's important that you should know what your money should buy you. That's our focus this week. I'm going to start first with Om. Om, luxury is being used on almost everything in the market right now. For you, in your mind, and it's difficult actually to put it in a bracket because we have no regulator in the real estate market, but in your mind, what constitutes luxury?
Well, I would say luxury is a very abused word in this industry. Everybody claims that, I'm building a luxury product, but parameters of measuring luxury are at times very, very confusing. So if you look at basic parameters, where what we see is when you look at a very luxury product, what people look at is density of the project. Density means the land on which the project is being constructed and number of apartments being constructed in that land. So technically, there is no thumb rule to this, but how many people are going to stay in this complex? That's the primary criteria that people should look at is the project having more than 100 apartments in a tower? If there are multiple towers, are those towers going to cater to that swimming pool or the clubhouse, which is going to be sufficient enough for the people to stay there and use those amenities efficiently, is going to be the biggest criteria there. The second criteria is again floor to the ceiling. The height of the apartment ceiling is also a very important criteria because of ventilation, because of kind of living lifestyle which you will be living. So everybody wants to see that I want the best height I can get in the apartment. Third most important thing is common amenities. If you're looking at the elevator, if you're looking at the landing floor where you're going to come out from the elevator to your apartment, is that spacious? Is there ventilation? Many other criteria which define luxury are being completely ignored in most of the brochures, in most of the handouts which are basically given by the developers. So these are fine criteria where one needs to look before finalizing a product, because just having a swimming pool and just having a clubhouse is not going to be defining luxury.
Well, Jayashree, you look at this market very closely every day, and you know that the interesting part about luxury buildings right now is that they have a lot of party tricks being thrown in. There are automated living rooms and there are fancy kitchens. Now, do you also agree with what Om just told us? Is this the criteria we should be measuring our apartments up against?
Luxury by its very nature means exclusivity. It means access to facilities when you want it and not having to wait in a queue to access them. The second thing is that when you walk into your apartment complex, do you get the feel of luxury, which really means that you should have a little more green area. It should be very well maintained. The common areas should be really well maintained. You don't want a scruffy looking lift opening into your beautiful apartment. So
I'm going to interrupt you there. Now, the problem is when we buy these apartments, they're mostly under construction. It's very difficult then to judge whether or not it's going to, have a lot of space, or what the lift is going to feel like, or what the lobby is going to feel like. So what we normally see is the brochure that comes from the developer. How do we look at that brochure and judge whether or not he's going to give us what he promises?
Our consumers should be asking for When I get into the lobby, one, the central atrium is very important because you're looking at managed facilities, which means you have a concierge, you have some guards monitoring who's coming in and going out. So that lobby is, and atrium is very important. The second thing is that when the lift, what is the speed of the lift? Do you have a service lift? That's very important. You don't want the service people using the same lift that your guests and homeowners are using. These are all small elements of luxury which people tend to give a lot of credence to, and these are facilities that you can actually check when you are booking your apartment. The same thing, and a swimming pool does not make a luxury apartment, but the size of the swimming pool is very important. If you have a handkerchief swimming pool, that really does not make your apartment complex luxurious.
All right, so ask for details. You had something to add, and I also want to ask you about the third thing that we should keep in mind, which is the view. And again, there's no regulation that nothing will come up in front of you, but how important is location and view when looking at luxury products?
We need to look for the master plan of that area. Most of the developers typically have that master plan. We need to look at what is the distance between this project and the next project. Or what is the distance between this building or this wing or the next wing. The distance really determines that one can peep into your house or you can't peep into anybody's house. So these things are very, very simple things. You really don't need to be an expert to see these things, and one needs to get that basic clarification from the developer in terms of a plan which has been submitted to the municipal authorities for clearance of the project. That will clearly determine whether this is a real luxury product or it is a camouflaged luxury product.
All right, all of those things to keep in mind if you're considering a luxury apartment. I'm going to run that on your screen one more time so you get a quick recap. And also, if you'd like a list of properties to consider, well, we have that as well. Take a look. It's a long list of luxury projects across the country. Let's start with Bangalore. Misty Waters by Prestige, Mozaria Grandeur by Shobha Developers, and Glenglade by the House of Hiranandani. In Chennai, the Aqua Lily project by Mahindra Lifescapes, Aurum Villas by Pacifica, and Greens by India Bulls. In Gurgaon, Greenopolis by 3C, Oyster Grande by the Adani Group, Golf Avenue by CHD Developers, and East Space Premier by Unitech. In Noida, Vasilia by Wave Infratech, Mirabella by Mahagun Developers, and Victory Ace by Victory Infratech. In Mumbai, Urbania by Rustomji, US Open by Nirmal Lifestyle, KUL Palladio by Kumar Builders, Runwal Pearl by the Runwal Group, and Panache by Lankhani Builders. In Pune, 24K Allura by the Kolte Patil Group, Nyathi Epitome by the Nyathi Group, and Pristine Royale by Pristine Properties. All right, time to take a few questions. Ankur has written in, he wants to buy a luxury villa in Pune with a budget of 1 to 1.5 crore rupees. He has given us a list of preferred locations. He likes Bhugaon and Parangut, and he wants to know if there's something that he can buy for the next 5 to 7 years to give him good returns. Would it be better to buy maybe a 2-bedroom apartment or a luxury villa? What would you recommend?
Well, I would say the budget, considering the budget of what he has, Parangut gives lot many options there. Rightly identified options wherein one can look at Viva, which is a product where you actually own the land and also a villa. Considering the way Pune is growing, we don't see far away that Hinjewadi people will be traveling to Parangut for work. So basically from Parangut they'll be traveling to Hinjewadi, vice versa, and basically that will give them the sense of feeling that eventually what we saw, which was happening in Pune, outskirts of Pune became part of city. Now this Parangut also is nothing but it's a Powd Road, extension of Powd Road. The way I see it is the area will look very good in next few years time. We will see great upside specifically in Parangut, and products what identified are really good. It's a matter of choice. Rather than buying an apartment, if one can afford land and a villa, why not?
All right, it's time for us to take a very quick break. But if you're interested in Pune, when we come back, we'll talk about the real estate market in Hinjewadi in Pune, and we'll tell you if you should be investing in that market. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching the Property Guide on ET Now. Our guests are still with us, helping us make smart decisions when it comes to property. Now, our focus this week is Hinjewadi in Pune, and you're most likely to associate this neighborhood with large IT companies, and you're not wrong. Now, in the last few years, we've seen a sharp uptick in residential property in this space. Let's take a look at how prices have moved in the neighborhood, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Ten years ago, Hinjewadi was just a small village outside of Pune. But all of that changed with the construction of the Rajiv Gandhi Infotech Park in 2003. The technology park, which houses 20 software companies, has changed the face of Hinjewadi and made it one of the most promising real estate locations in Pune. Connectivity is another factor working for Hinjewadi. It's on the NH4 bypass around Pune, 25 minutes away from the centre of the city and 145 kilometers away from Mumbai. Developers like Kolte Patil, Paranjpe and Kumar Builders have launched integrated townships in Hinjewadi, and the flurry of activity has pushed prices up 11% in the last 2 years. Residential homes are currently priced at about 4,850 rupees a square foot here. Alright, so that's Hinjewadi. Now, we were just talking about this before we went into the break, the fact that it's received so much attention. It's really the hottest spot in Pune right now. For those of our viewers who are watching at home, wondering if this is the place to make their next investment, what's your advice?
Two things what gives me comfort, specifically at Pune and Chennai. These are two peculiar cities in India where it's not just IT which is driving the boom, specifically in the real estate space. Today, who's a buyer today? When we analyze 70% of the buyers in the market today in most of the cities are IT professionals. So good thing is when we look at in the past, when Lehman crisis happened, two cities were not too much affected. That was Chennai and Pune, because of not just dependent on IT space, they have manufacturing space and specifically auto space. Keeping in mind what Hinjewadi has developed to, and we believe that Pune continues to be a great city in terms of climate, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of dependency on multiple industries rather than one industry. Hinjewadi seems very promising, and considering the way things are at this point of time going in terms of connectivity to Bombay and lot many other things happening in terms of airport and many other things, gives us comfort that from this level we don't see one will lose any money, or maybe one can only look at upside.
What sort of an upside are you viewing?
Well, I would say annualized returns of around 15 to 18% is something which looks very promising if we take one is taking a 5-year view. Hinjewadi still has good options available, or you have an extended road from Hinjewadi which actually gives you lot many options. So one can look at good options which are frankly at this point of time well priced, I would say.
Jayashree, I'm going to bring you in here. We do know there's been a lot of supply in Hinjewadi over the last couple of years, but tell us what the absorption rate has been. Are there enough takers for the apartments that are coming up in that neighborhood?
Going by the demand that I see on the site, I would say that Hinjewadi areas, right now, like Om said, it's very reasonably priced. But demand is so strong that I think Hinjewadi has a very good prospect in the next 5 to 7 years, because there's land, there is development, and there is demand, which is a potent combination.
Om, if I'm buying in Hinjewadi right now, there are several different types of options from different types of developers. Would you recommend just doing the simple 2-bedroom apartment if it's an investment that I'm hoping to rent out, or should we be looking at a larger, higher bracket, go as high as you can afford?
I would say restrict yourself to 2 or 3 bedroom. 3 bedroom would be a product in a upgraded good quality project where basically every person who's buying 2 bedroom will like to upgrade to 3 bedroom eventually in 5 years time or 8 years time. So 3 bedroom gives you a good next point of entry who are dealing with the quality of person you're dealing with. 2 bedroom is an ideal segment where you can lease it out, you can sell it out. It can be quick decision. It can be a quick transaction which can happen in 2 bedroom. 3 will eventually give you the price advantage and the next quality of person you'll be dealing with.
Jayashree, quickly I want to come to you here. We know that there aren't too many national developers right now in Pune. Pune has a lot of its own developers, names that are possibly familiar to the people who live there right now. So for someone who's watching across the country, who's thinking about making an investment in Hinjewadi, how do they decide what sort of a developer to use? Would you recommend using one of the known names, or should we also be looking at the local developers?
I don't see a problem with selecting a developer, a Pune-based developer. You know, people like Gera, Kumar Builders, they have more or less become national developers because they are developing in Pune, Bombay, Goa, Bangalore. So they're extending their footprint, and there are also a lot of local developers. Not a problem choosing developers in Pune, I would say.
All right, good market there in Pune. Very quick question to you. Hinjewadi has run up a fair amount in the last couple of years. For those of our viewers who can't afford to buy in Hinjewadi, you were talking about neighborhoods around it that will become hot in the next couple of years. Give us a few.
Absolutely. I think there are locations like Balewadi in Pune. There are locations like specifically when you go towards extended Viman Nagar area. There are pockets in Pune even today where you basically can look for a quality 2 to 3 bedroom. Accessibility is not an issue in Pune in terms of travel time. So this belt, which is basically on the Viman Nagar belt, gives a lot of comfort at this point of time, which is still having that upside built in. And in terms of quality, also there are many such players there.
All right, so first choice if you're looking at Pune as an investment is Hinjewadi, and here are a couple of other neighborhoods that you could consider if you can't afford Hinjewadi right now. And if you want a list of properties to consider, well, we have that list as well. Take a look. But if you're looking to invest in a home in Hinjewadi, here are a few recommendations. Life Republic by Kolte Patil, priced at 5,000 rupees a square foot. Megapolis Splendor and Mystique by the Pegasus Group, priced between 4,300 and 5,000 rupees a square foot. Ashok Meadows by Peninsula Land and Sovereign by the Sarthi Group, priced around 4,500 rupees a square foot. And finally, Eon Homes by Kasturi Housing, priced at 4,600 rupees a square foot. Well, Chintan Shah has written in. He wants to invest in an apartment in Indore near the upcoming special economic zone with a budget of 30 lakh rupees. He wants to know what your advice is. Jayashree, could you help him out?
The area that he's looking at is an IT-driven area, and TCS and Infosys have already invested in this area. He should be able to get properties here, and 1, 2, 3 BHK units, and there are also some plots available. Typically, apartments are in the 2,200 to 2,700 square feet per square feet range, and you get a plot in about I think about 1,200 per square foot onwards.
But if he's looking at some place like Indore, should he be looking at an apartment or a plot of land? Which one would you recommend?
Given a choice, I think a plot would be ideal, because end of the day, if you can afford a land in India, I think it's frankly very good.
Actually, I want to ask you that question across the board right now for anybody who's watching and looking at an investment in places like Bangalore or Pune or any of our smaller cities. There are plots of land being cut out in outskirts, in neighborhoods that are available from the government directly. Are these options that we should consider?
Absolutely. I think goes without saying, if from the right source, if you're buying a plot of land, I would say blindly buy it. Land is an asset which you'll never depreciate over longer periods of time. Apartments, it may so happen that the building is not maintained well, the society is not maintained well, it may command premium, it may not command premium. Land always commands premium.
Jayashree, do you agree? Buy land if you can afford it?
Absolutely, but buy it from the right sources. There are a lot of non-legal sources also selling land, so you have to be very careful about whom you're buying it from. If you buy it from a developer, a development authority, or some credible source like that, please go ahead and buy land. Land always appreciates more than apartments.
All right, so land always appreciates. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, but if you'd like to have both of our guests back to talk about buying land on the show, write to us. Email ID is at the bottom of your screen. Om and Jayashree, thank you so much for spending time with us this week and helping us make smart decisions. On the other side of this break, it's our legal segment. We'll talk about how to check the legal papers of your developer. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching the Property Guide in ET Now. Thank you for staying with us. It's time to tackle a few legal problems. And to help us answer your questions, Advocate Hemang Jariwala joins us now. He's a specialist when it comes to real estate. Now, our first question, Hemang, comes in from Tejas this week. Now, he tells us he plans to invest in an apartment called Palacia by the Madhavji Shriji Group in Thane in Mumbai. He found out that the builder is not selling some of the floors in that 16-story apartment block. He now suspects the builder may not have all of the permissions and the clearances he needs to build this apartment block. Tejas wants to know how he, as a customer, can now verify the builder's credentials and his legal paperwork. What can he do, Hemang?
As regards flat purchasers who are planning to invest their hard-earned money in areas like Mulund, Thana, Borivali, Goregaon, the first and foremost thing which they got to check is that whether the land falls under the private forest land or not. There is a lot of issues with regards to the same. Even the Honorable Bombay High Court in 2008 has passed an order stating that the land is a private forest, and the matter is now pending before the Honorable Apex Court. So first and foremost, please check whether the land is falling under private forest or not. Secondly, check whether the land, if it is not a private forest, then it is a freehold land or a leasehold land. Check the title clearance, encumbrance certificate, approved plan, IOD, commencement certificate, and also check whether all the floors, that is from the first floor till the 16th floor, are duly approved and sanctioned by the competent authority. Thereafter, call for the draft agreement and check whether all the clauses are as per the Form 5 of the Maharashtra Flat Ownerships Act 1963, because there are certain clauses which are absolutely mandatory and statutory which needs to be there in those agreements. Kindly show all these documents, plans and agreements to a legal advisor who deals in property matters, and only after his approval, please go and invest your hard-earned money. You will not regret.
Our next question comes in from Harish, who also writes in from Thane. Now, he tells us he booked an apartment in October 2007, and he later found out the apartment is in a refugee area. Now, the builder has given him possession, but has not given him an occupation certificate, and the building has not been regularized. He wants to know what his options are now.
The concept of a refuge area is that in case of fire or in case of any other emergency, this refuge area would protect the occupants of the building. The ingress and ingress to the refuge area has to be kept absolutely without any obstacle or without any hindrance. Hence, the question of constructing a flat in a refuge area is absolutely illegal and unlawful. Here the builder has constructed a flat which is not as per the approved plan, without any sanction of the BMC or the competent authority, and thereby he has cheated the flat purchaser because he has sold something which he has no right to construct. So the first and foremost thing the flat purchaser needs to do is to file a private complaint under section 200 of the CRPC, under section 420 of the Indian Penal Code. Secondly, the flat purchaser is supposed to file a consumer complaint calling upon the builder to refund the complete consideration amount along with interest. It is also very important to know that as per the MMC Act 1888, under section 353A, without an occupation certificate, if a person is occupying a flat, that is illegal, unlawful, and is subjected to prosecution and penalty. Hence, the flat purchaser should know that he is sitting in an illegal structure which today or tomorrow the competent authority would come and break down.
Lots of things to keep in mind when you're buying an apartment, especially in Mumbai. Hemang, thank you so much for joining us on the show and answering those questions. If you have a question for Hemang, write to us. Email ID is at the bottom of your screen. Tune in next week to catch the property guide. Thanks for watching.